All right, joining us right now, another marvelous singer, a great musical talent. Let's have a nice welcome for Dionne Warwick, please. I don't think you'll mind if I take a minute to read a few things about you. Is that okay?
If you have to.
Well, I don't have to, but I think it'd be fun. Like, for example, I didn't know that you were the first woman to be named Woman of the Year by Harvard's Hasty Pudding Club.
You didn't?
No,
How
I
could
didn't
you
know
have
that.
missed that?
I must have missed that.
That was wonderful. I have really fond memories of that. I went to Harvard to receive the award and saw a wonderful play that they do every year, which is associated with this award.
Sure.
And then they told me that, I said, you mean Katharine Hepburn has never been? No. No,
Katharine.
I said, what about the president's wife? No. I mean, it was wonderful. I had a ball. I said, rock and roll singer here, you know.
Do it. Right. And I didn't know that you began your career with the Drinkard Singers.
I didn't.
Oh.
That's my mother and my aunts and uncles.
Oh, so that was like an early influence, huh?
Absolutely.
Now, I was, trying to get to the same thing with Peter. I mean, isn't it fascinating? By the way, Peter had to leave because we're taping the show at a point right now where he's got to immediately rush up to get to the theater.
As does Dionne after she finishes to finish her rehearsal.
That's right. Dionne is going to be at Carnegie Hall tonight, Thursday night at Carnegie Hall. The early influences that make somebody do what they do, in your case, are pretty evident, correct?
Absolutely.
In his case, they're obscure. What were they in your case?
Well, I came from a family of singers, primarily. I studied music. I'm a music major from the Hart College of Music. I'm a graduate. And so music has always been my life. And that's what I'm about. Peter's association with music and lyrics, etc., obviously is as my gift is from God. It's a God-given gift.
It's a gift.
Absolutely.
It's there. I think it's there early. It's there in the beginning.
And it's wonderful that he's using it so well.
Let's talk a little bit about the music business. What it means to have a new album. You're also with a new label, Arista Records, Clive Davis Company, which is a terrific
combination. Absolutely.
Terrific label.
It's wonderful.
This is your new album, and this album is produced by Barry Manilow.
Right.
Now, what does that mean he did? Why do you need Barry Manilow?
Why do you need Barry Manilow?
Why
do I need
as a producer?
It's not so much that I needed Barry Manilow as a producer. It's just a matter of fact that he is my producer at this point, as was 12, 15 years ago. My producers were Burt, Bacharach, and Hal David,
right.
Which merely means that this person, in the person of now Barry Manilow, goes out and he finds hundreds of songs for me to listen to. And once I've listened to them along with him, then it is his job, if he wasn't capable, but obviously, as everyone knows, he is quite capable of doing the arrangements and then setting up the session time and doing the album.
And the whole thing with the mixing that we were talking about before, he gets involved with that. So I think it's interesting that Manilow really had early success as a writer and as a producer, and to collaborate with another artist like that. Here's a tough one. The combination of Burt Bacharach, composer, Hal David, lyricist, Dionne Warwick, singer, produced an incredible amount of hits. I could have read the whole thing.
We had a wonderful, sensational 12-year string of hits.
12-year string of hits. Hit
has been compared to none. I don't think there's another artist in the business, bar any, that can boast that, for that long of time, to have been associated with songwriter-producer team. Artists who have done this for that long.
The question I wanted to ask is, why did it work so well? What was there about the chemistry among the three of you that really gave us all that stuff?
I think primarily first it was good music. It was really, there were good songs.
Solid stuff.
Period. I think secondly that I came along at a time in music where it was so different and so far removed from what was happening at that time. It was an era of the groups and really hard rock and roll stuff. It was the Beatles, it was the Shirelles, the Drifters, the Motown sound. It just started to happening.
We're talking about what year, Dionne? About
1963.
63. First hit, Don't Make Me Over, right?
That's right.
Ooh, that was
so it was a time of just a totally different sound, coming from some obscure place that nobody realized what had happened to them. We just kind of snuck through when nobody was looking, and was good enough to stay.
Do you? I mean, it's so tough to pick all those. Alfie, right?
Yeah.
Do you know the way to San Jose?
Yeah.
Don't make me over. More on the list would include I Say a Little Prayer, Walk On By, Windows of the World. That's one of my. Do you have a favorite amongst all those? I mean, they're all excellent.
Yeah, they were all super tunes, and they will live forever. My favorite song of them all is my very first record, Don't Make Me Over.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? That's what I mean. Why not have that to be your favorite?
That's true. I mean, it's the beginning, and I think that's basically the reason for it. But I think we all primarily said that at one time in our lives, that if you can't accept me for what I am, for the things that I do, just don't make me over.
Good point. And Hal David, with always coming up with interesting lyrics.
Hal David has, I've said it 1,000 times, and I probably will say it over and over again for the rest of my life. Those are two of the most wonderful songwriters I've ever worked with. They will be recognized throughout the world for the rest of their lives and mine, I'm sure. And I will say undoubtedly that Hal David is probably one of the finest lyric writers.
He's a poet.
Absolutely,
he really
that ever lived.
Well, what happened? How come you haven't had an album? You haven't been with them as a team?
I haven't been with them.
The three of you have,
4 years.
and they haven't been together.
No, they haven't. Obviously, then that's the reason. You know, they were my songwriters, my producers, etc. Unfortunately, they decided they didn't want to be together any longer, which said to me that I don't got no songwriter-producers anymore.
Right.
And had to move on to other ways of recording. And it took a good 3 years before I decided
to get the roots.
Where it was at again. And fortunately, I got a winner.
Definitely.
A real winner.
Oh, I think with Arista you're in good shape.
Yeah,
I've heard a couple of. It's a new album. I've heard a couple of cuts, and we're going to be playing some of it. It's good stuff. Now we have some good questions, I think. Hi.
Hi.
What's your name?
My name is Beverly Brown, and I'd like to know. Well, I consider myself as being a needle in a haystack of the unknown singers that are striving to get just a toenail into the business. And I'd like to know if you have some inspiring advice for us.
Honey, it's so difficult. It really is. That's the only question probably that you could ever ask me that I can't give you a direct answer for. If you just happen to be what is being sought after at the time it's being sought after, is really the only logical thing I can say to you, other than pounding on doors and letting people know, hey, I'm good and I got it, and just give me a chance to do it for you. That's all I can tell you.
Well, thank you very much.
Wait, don't leave the mic. I'll give you 30 seconds to prove it.
Oh, would you really?
Right now. Now just relax and give us a.
I'll give you a second.
Give us a little thumbnail sketch.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for one more day. One more day. Thank you.
Thank you. That's not an easy thing to do.
No, it isn't. That's wonderful. I wish you a lot of luck.
Yeah. Good luck. Nice tones.
Yeah.
Good luck. Next question. What would you like to do? A little
I don't know
comedy?
if I can follow that.
That's hard, isn't it?
Hi, Dionne.
Hi.
I've seen you in concert a lot, and I've met you a few times. I'd like to know, of all the, with Burt Bacharach, why did he choose you for such a long association?
Yeah, how did it start? That's a good question. Where to begin?
It really began because I did a background session with the group I was with at the time for Lieber and Stoller. And we did a song that Bacharach had written with Bob Hilliard, who is no longer with us. He's deceased. But it was a wonderful song written for the Drifters called Mexican Divorce.
Yeah, it's on his album with Sister Houston doing it.
Well, no, not Mexican Divorce.
On the Burt Bacharach album.
Mexican Divorce?
Yeah.
Which Burt Bacharach album?
The green one. You want the green cover.
Which one? I don't know what that is. But at any rate, I think what you are probably confusing that with is One Less Bell. No,
yeah,
I
that's
think
on it
so.
also.
Because Sissy Houston is my aunt.
Right.
At any rate.
And also a great performance.
Tell me about
Sissy
it.
Houston.
Very good.
But what really happened was after the session was over, Burt asked if I would do some demonstration records of music he's just written with a brand new partner, Hal David. And I consented to do that, and that's how we got together.
So he spotted you at the session. He heard something.
Well, I think what happened was I was the one that read, so he depended upon me to teach the parts and get it together for him in our particular group. So it kind of...
It's a good example of obviously having the talent, but a certain amount of whatever it is, creating an ambiance about yourself that brought that to you, and being lucky.
I guess I was in pigtail sneakers and sweatshirt, what can I tell you, at that point in my life, and it really worked. It was wonderful.
Let's take a quick break and we'll be back to continue. More audience questions. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Just as we get it to work, you will. I'm calling a fire. When you make it clear.
I feel a certain disco beat in your new album. Am I correct in assuming that this is a sort of a disco influence?
I don't think so.
It sounded that way to me.
No,
I saw people involuntarily twitching in the audience.
Well, that's inherent, I think. What the album is a conglomeration of a lot of really wonderful things, primarily ballads.
Right.
Which that's me. I'm a balladeer. What can I tell you? However, there's never been an album of mine on the market anywhere without something on it that was danceable.
Yeah.
Disco for disco's sake, no.
No,
danceable.
You don't have a compulsion to have a monster disco hit.
That it's I think disco is wonderful. Don't get me wrong, I really do. I think it's happy. It's something that's absolutely necessary to be a vital part of that circle of music that we are so interested in. But I'm not a disco singer. You know, I think that Gloria Gaynor is a wonderful singer with that influence. I think that Donna Summers is just, she started it. I mean, she's really into what she's doing very well. However, if you listen to what Donna's doing now, she's trying in her own way to moonlight, if you will, for lack of a better word, to give an inkling that she is a singer as well as a mover. I love to move. I love discos, and I go as frequently as I can because I like to get rid of my inhibitions too.
Yeah,
you know?
It's a good way to do it.
But to do something disco for disco's sake, I don't think my audience, my people who expect certain things out of me would accept it.
Well, that's interesting also as to whether or not, if you tried to do a disco thing, whether or not the whole marketplace would say, Dionne Warwick disco, it doesn't go together. So you might not even if you did a good cut, might not be successful.
You know, it's like I said, it's danceable, and they probably will play it in discos, and I hope they do. But we didn't intend for it to be primarily geared for that.
You know, when I first met you this afternoon, I said, I first saw you at Franklin and Marshall College in 1965 or 66 in the field house or something like that. And you looked at me and said, don't do it, don't do it. What did you mean? That you've done so many concerts, it's tough to obviously remember them at this point.
Not only that, but it's like you probably are the 17th person today that has seen me in concert at college in 1965, 66, or 60. It has just been phenomenon of college days today.
Isn't
and I
that
said,
funny?
You got to be putting me on. I thought you walked in the street and said, say this to her. You know?
No, I did. It's true. Just like I saw Peter Allen for the first time at Mr. Kelly's in Chicago, and Oscar Brown Jr. years ago at the Waldorf. It's great for me to meet people, you know, I've seen and been a fan of for so long. I want to shift back to the audience. We have a fellow. Are you in the music business?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
All right. My name is Corvus Dover, and I'd like to know if you have any plans for doing another movie.
Yeah, I'd love to. I really will. And in fact, I'm thinking very seriously about giving myself the time that I need, making myself available for scripts and to sit down and read them and make sure that this is the right thing to do.
Okay. There is a natural, I think, just a natural outgrowth between good ballad singing and good acting. I always think of Frank Sinatra, who really, when he sings a ballad, is acting. I mean, he's using real emotions, and the same with you. Did you make that natural transition to acting? Was it
was
pretty
quite
easy
easy
for you?
to do. It wasn't as easy as singing, of course, because that's my forte. However, I had a good director, and I had two wonderful actors alongside of me, and Ossie Davis, Robert Cahill, and Stephen Boyd, who just carried me through that film, really literally taught me everything as I was moving through it. And the primary thing they told me to remember that it's just as natural as talking.
To be real, to be really in the moment, and
Exactly.
It doesn't get more, it can, but it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that.
No, it doesn't.
It can get
just
more complicated.
live life and do it.
That's, Disco singer?
Lovely.
No, fashion designer.
Lovely
No
lady.
kidding. You look great.
Thank you. My question is, I know you have 2 children, and how do you coordinate your personal life, your professional life with your family life, with your children? It's very difficult.
It has become quite easy, I must say, because I am a mother first. And that's a very important entity with me. I am not working nearly as much as I was prior to the births of both of my children. And I'm at home an awful lot of time. However, during their summer vacations or winter vacation breaks from school, they are coming on the road with me. In all probability, they will meet me in Las Vegas in July. I'm meeting them in Hawaii in June. So we are primarily together as much as possible. And that's how we work it out.
Okay, thank you.
Are they showing any musical aspirations at this point?
I'm sure that if I prodded it, it would be there, but I'm going to stay as far away from it as I can.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
They could turn out to be pilots.
I hope so.
Like Chris, wherever he is.
I hope so.
Yeah.
What are your plans for after Carnegie Hall?
After Carnegie Hall, I'll be leaving for Europe.
Have a drink first, though. You know?
I wish I could. I really do. I wish I could sit down and go to sleep for a year. But no, I'll be leaving for Europe for 3 weeks. And then I'll be coming back to Las Vegas for 3 weeks. And then I'll be going home for 2 months.
Oh, good.
So,
thanks.
You're welcome.
How did you get associated with Barry Manilow?
Barry Manilow. The Barry Manilow connection, this young lady wants to know. How'd you get associated with him?
I got associated with Barry Manilow about 6 years ago at the beginning of his career when I let him open my show at Central Park. That's how I got associated with Barry Manilow.
And you're working together still?
I tell you, it's amazing how, like I said, it's full circle.
Isn't that tough to work Central Park?
No, it's the most amazing
because
experience.
It's so spread out.
It's wonderful.
Yeah?
Your voice just keeps going on. You feel like you're going across the bridge to New Jersey. It's fabulous.
Where are some of the other places? I mean, you've literally worked all around the world. And Marlene Dietrich first introduced you in Europe.
In Paris.
In Paris. Right. Where are some of the halls? Excluding Carnegie Hall tonight, which has to have a certain strong feeling.
The Royal Albert Hall in London. It's a fabulous hall to work.
What makes it so?
I guess the spirits that are inside the walls that come out. I don't know. What do I know? It's just the mystique about the
feeling you
theater
get from it, yeah.
And what you bring to it and what it gives to you, yeah.
How about some other
Lincoln,
you don't have to
Lincoln
mention
Center, naturally.
Lincoln Center,
it's
sure.
Gorgeous. Avery Fisher Hall is wonderful. Let me think. It's hard to think. It's very difficult to think.
How about, for example, performing in a country where English is not the predominant language, like working in France? Or would you, Elton John is now not rocking in Russia, would you like to do something like that, work to an audience that doesn't really understand English?
It really doesn't matter. Music, fortunately, is a universal language, and it speaks its own. Fortunately, people are able to listen to melodies and recognize them. They don't have to really know what you're saying. But in many cases, and such as mine being a recording artist, the recording artists of that country have covered most of my recordings in the language, so they do know what I'm saying, what I'm doing. So it works out great.
It's terrific. Let's take a break. We've got another terrific performer coming up next, Oscar Brown Jr. Be right back with him.